Hello guys, welcome back to GRAZYTV, and I'm looking fancy today. I like to mix and match my earrings, got my big sapphire necklaces, and this is a denim dress. Gonna show you the whole thing. Denim dress for today. I am pretty excited to talk about today's case because it's one of the biggest cases that ever happened in Korean history. This is one of the most notorious mafia gang that happened in Korea back in 1990s. And it also involves a survivor who survived to tell the story. And there was a little bit about talk where this female survivor potentially survived because maybe one of the gang members actually liked her and she was able to survive. The details are very chilling, you guys, so please brace yourself. And I just want to say thank you, a big thank you to today's sponsor, Grammarly. Grammarly is a digital writing assistant, and especially for school, business, email writings, anything, Grammarly can help you. Grammarly is free to sign up. It reviews critical spelling and grammar mistakes. There's also Grammarly Premium, which I have. There's vocabulary suggestions to help you expand your vocabulary and replace this with boring or bland words and more exciting, effective, memorable ones. There's Clarity AI, which writes full sentences to improve clarity, plagiarism detector, and tone transformation, which transforms your writing to help you be better understood. Grammarly also works on Google Documents, providing you a handy assistant. I personally love using Grammarly when it comes to my emails. Also, whenever I'm making my YouTube videos, I have to write a script, so I write it in Grammarly so I could deliver these videos in a more professional way and sound professional. Especially if you're in school and college, essay writing, this is going to be a big help for you guys. And it's so easy to download Grammarly. There's an extension that you can put onto your computer, and there you go. And whenever I'm writing my emails, it automatically corrects me and lets me know what is wrong. There's really no reason for you not to have this because everybody writes. So go to grammarly.com/GRAZYTV to sign up for a free account, and you can get 20% off Grammarly Premium today. Thank you to Grammarly for sponsoring today's video. Alright you guys, let's get into the CHIJONPA gang story. They consisted of 6 members. There was a superior, there was a boss, there was chief, and 3 different workers. What's really interesting is that all these members were very young. The superior member, which is higher than the boss, he was only 26 years old, and the rest of the members were actually only 20, 21, 22 at max. So they were young adults. So they all had this house that they actually built themselves. The house was also pink and mint color, so it's not like people suspected that anything weird was going on here. Now in Korean, they call this house a 살인 공장, aka translated to murder factory. Now in the first floor and outside, the house looked super normal, but in the basement was this factory. Now in this basement, there was a self-made jail cell and an incinerator. They say that there was all types of weapons here that they gathered and bought, from axe, guns, knives, to just pretty much anything you could think of. Also over 20 dynamites that they implanted in this basement just in case that they were caught by the police and they could just blow this place up and boom, no evidence. Now the purpose of the CHIJONPA gang was that they hated the rich. Apparently there was a flex culture just like today in the 80s to the 90s where there were rich kids who were using their parents' money, driving around expensive cars in the Apgujeong area. Apgujeong is it's kind of compared to like Beverly Hills in California. Now all these CHIJONPA members apparently grew up from poor families and they were unfortunate when it came to education and things like that. So how did this CHIJONPA gang all start? It started from one of the members. He is a superior boss, 26-year-old, and he said he was actually very smart when he was growing up. He was one of the top students when it came to academics in his class, but he said that because his family did not have any money, he had to give up on education and he could not go to college. But he saw all these kids that was flexing cars and money, but these kids who can't even study, who are not even smart, get everything what they want in life, and he just felt like the world was unfair. So he decided to create a gang with members that was in a similar situation as him. So at first there was about 7 members and they gathered all their money and started building this house. So now that the CHIJONPA was established, it was time for their first round of tests. The superior wanted to test his members to see if they were all ready. And the first victim was a female who got off the bus. They kidnapped her, assaulted her. He gathered all the members around and he showed them, and specifically he said, "This is how you kill a human. And he was showing them how to strangle, and unfortunately the victim did pass away. Now, one of the members was very disturbed by this. He was an 18-year-old. All the rest of the members seemed okay with this. He was apparently hiding at his relative's house when the gang members found him, and they were trying to at first calm him down and say, hey, it's okay, I know it's shocking, but let me just talk with you. Like, let's just talk and see what you want to do. They brought him outside, and unfortunately, they killed him. So technically, he was their second victim, their own gang member. This is allegedly the rules or the doctrine that the gang members had to go by. Now they were up for the real life. This was not a practice anymore, and they were ready. Now, back in the 80s, 90s, apparently there was a car called Granger, and in Korea, this was one of the most expensive cars that you could have. So they thought that anyone riding the Granger car was rich. So anyone they saw riding this car, they stopped. Now, in one of this Granger car that they saw was 2 victims, 1 male and 1 female, and they were actually just bandmates at like a band club. Now, later we found out that this was actually just a used older car. This was not like a really expensive Granger car. So these gang members weren't even actually educated in who to target. Anyone that they saw with this car, they just kidnapped. So they took the 2 victims down to their basement, and the male victim, they got him really drunk with soju alcohol. They instructed A, you must kill your friend or you also will be killed. So they were forcibly making her kill her own bandmates. Of course, A refused. She says that the gang member forced her hand on top of her friend until he passed away, and she technically participated in this, and they did this because psychologically they wanted to brainwash her to think that now she was part of this gang member and to make her feel very guilty. So just in case anything happens, she will not go to the police because technically she participated in her friend's death. Victim A claims that one of the gang member, his name is Kim Hyun-young, was the member that stayed with her pretty much all the time. He was like charged of keeping an eye on her. Now, when A was struggling to strangle her friend, the other members were saying, look, she can't be trusted, we can't trust her, we should just get rid of her. But that's when Kim Hyun-young, the member that was in charge of her, were arguing and telling them that she's doing well, look, she's doing it, she's fine, we'll train her. So this is really interesting how one of the members were trying to keep her alive, at least. 5 days into A's kidnapping, members decided to take their next victim. They took A with her inside their car, and they were driving around seeing their next victim, and they saw a Granger car. There was 2 older couples in the cemetery preparing for Chuseok, the Korean holiday, for their ancestors, and the gang members thought that because they were riding a Granger car that they were rich and decided to kidnap these older couples. Actually, these couples weren't that rich. The husband just owned a small business, and these gang members didn't even do their research well. They took them to the basement cell. While they were staying there, the victim husband pleaded and wrote a letter to the gang saying, I don't care about the money, please just promise you'll let my wife and kids survive. The gang members threatened the couple that they wanted $100,000, and if he cannot get the money, they're going to kill him. The victim then called all his co-workers and friends saying that he got into an accident and that he needed money immediately. Now, altogether, he was able to gather about $80,000. He just could not gather $100,000, and the gang member said, that's enough. You go and get the money, we're gonna watch you, but if you do call the police, we're gonna kill your wife. So the male victim, A, and some of the gang members got into a car and they went to the bus terminal where the male victim was supposed to meet one of his co-workers to receive the $80,000. There was apparently a police station right nearby, but the victim just passed by in fear that if he does, the gang members might flee and kill his wife. So he just got the money from his co-worker and just had to come back. Now, at least when he met the coworker, he told him and whispered, I'm kidnapped, I can't say much, and came back to the car right away. The coworker did report it to the police, but they weren't able to find them soon enough. When they got to the basement, the members promised the couple that they will be released and to be rest assured. The next day around 6 p.m., A heard the members say, it's time. A little while later, they called A to go to another room. That's when she saw the 2 couples passed out from alcohol drunk. Of course, the members were forcefully feeding the victims the alcohol. The members told A that you must kill the couples and pull the trigger, and this is the last test and that she must pass this test and to not make a mistake and give us your trust. If she didn't, her life will be in danger, and if she did, she would feel super guilty because technically she's the one who killed them. She hesitated for a very long time, and the first shot she said she missed because she was so nervous. That's when Kim Hyun-young, the member that was in charge of her, came, put his finger around hers and pulled the trigger for her, unfortunately killing both the couples. Next, she claims that she saw them put the bodies into the incinerator, and to hide any smell or suspicions, the gang members would eat barbecue outside. Now it was the 8th day of A being kidnapped. She says that the member that was in charge of her, Kim Hyun-young, got into a fight with his other gang members because Kim Hyun-young wanted to keep A alive and make her one of their members when the other gang members just wanted to get rid of her or just kill her or do something. Because of this argument, they got into a big altercation, a physical fight, and Kim got his head injured, and the next morning he decided to go to the hospital. Again, super interesting that this guy would even fight the members for her. So the next morning, A actually asked Kim, hey, can I go to the hospital with you? And Kim casually said, yeah, sure, let's just get some fresh air. Which is, again, really, really lucky for A, the fact that the gang member would trust her even on the 8th day. But she knew that this was her last chance of getting out. So Kim and A arrived at the hospital, and Kim actually gave his cell phone and money for her to hold while he got the treatment on his head. Again, really surprising that Kim would just trust the kidnapper, she wouldn't run away. She said that this could be a test by him. There could be gang members waiting outside the hospital, and she was so hesitant if she should even run away or not. The moment that Kim went into the doctor's office, Yu ran. She ran outside and she got into a local taxi. She told the taxi driver that she is so scared she's been kidnapped for a couple of days, and the taxi driver replied, what? I know everyone in this town. What is their name? And she got so scared, thinking that maybe the taxi driver had something to do with it, that he was part of the gang member. Mind you, I know that a lot of Korean taxi drivers who are older, they might be a little old-fashioned, so they just think hey, I'll beat them up for you kind of mentality, especially in the farming area. She was so scared that she actually left the taxi, bolted out, she ran into a nearby grape farm, waited there for 8 hours. When it became at night, she used Kim's cell phone to call a taxi, and she decided to go all the way to Seoul, which is like a 7-hour drive. Finally, A went into the Seoul police station and she told her crazy story, and the police officer actually said he thought that she was on drugs. He thought that she was just a crazy person because the story just did not make sense. She was saying that she's been kidnapped for 8-9 days, that she saw people get killed, and that she had to kill the victims because they told her to. I mean, it was a crazy story. The police who's never heard of something like this. When A was talking to the police, all of a sudden, remember, she was holding Kim's cell phone. The cell phone started to ring and the members were looking for her. Now the police said don't say anything, and he picked up the cell phone. He also didn't say anything, and the only thing that was saying from the cell phone was, hey Sujong. Sujong is her real name. Hey Sujong. Hey Sujong. And they didn't say anything else, and they just hung up. Meanwhile, while she escaped, the gang members were waiting for her at the Jeollado police station, the police station near the house. The gang members waited for A 3 days outside the local police station, and actually when they didn't find her, they were just rest assured because they thought that she wouldn't call the police because she was technically a killer as well. The Seoul police station gathered up one of the top homicide departments. Now the homicide department that was in charge of catching the CHIJONPA gang members were all trained fighters. They were top of the top. So they drove all the way down to Jeollado's 7-hour drive in order to catch these members. So at first the officers were super surprised because A claimed that the house was pink and mint. It was such a pretty house to have a murder factory. They were surveilling the house for a couple hours until one young man, part of the gang, came out of the house and started driving a truck. When the gang member thought that he was probably being chased by the police ran into the truck and arrested the first suspect. suspect. The first suspect claimed that he was the capo of the Mafia or the gang. He surprisingly told police everything and confessed that yes, it's true what A was telling them, and he also told them that there are bombs inside the house and that they should be careful. So the police plotted a way to get all the members, and they now knew that there was dynamites inside the house and they could blow everyone up. They got the local police of Jeollado to call the gang members to claim that one of their members got into an accident and asked them to pick up his belongings. This was really smart because if the Seoul police called the gang members, they would realize that the accident isn't from Jeollado area, so they wanted nothing suspicious so they could cleanly catch all the gang members. Soon after, the car with 3 gang members pulled up at the police station, and one of the gang members got out of the car to walk to the police, and that's when the police arrested that man on spot, but the 2 men inside the car did get away. But later, this car crashed somewhere and they were able to catch them. The remaining 2 members were inside the house, and when they got out with the news that the police was possibly looking for them, they started running with their panties because they got a call unexpectedly and the police were able to catch the 2 remaining gang members. This was actually a very fast and appropriate plan, and they were able to catch all the members, 6 members, in just 2 hours. When the whole nation found out about CHIJONPA, they were so surprised because it was so disturbing. One of the men that was caught, he is the superior of the CHIJONPA group. He said, "I'm angry that I couldn't get rid of all the rich people who ignored the lower class." Another man said, "Those rich bastards living in Apgujeong." Apgujeong is like one of the rich areas in Korea. "Those who ride expensive Granger cars. I'm so angry I couldn't kill them all. Please put this all on TV."
솔직히 하루에 뭐 솔직히 우리 서민 같은 사람들은 몇백만 원 벌기 힘듭니다. 근데 하루에 그렇게 쓰는 사람들 어마어마 많더라고.
압구정된 야타족들 내 손에 못 죽여서 시작도 못하고 간 게 한이 되고.
The really interesting thing is the reporters interviewed Kim, who was in charge of A. The reporter asked Kim, kind of like a drama, "Did you love you?" "No, I did not. I wanted to make her strong in order to make her a member. We can't love, we can't date as a gang." So, I mean, did he really like her? I don't know. I don't think so. All these gang members were just so brainwashed that I don't think they even knew what they were really doing. They just had this really made up fantasy about the world. All the 6 members were sentenced to death on November 2nd, 1995. Yu was fortunately found not guilty for any charges related to the forceful killing by the gang. Yu was left with trauma and PTSD, and now 26 years later, she spoke about her experiences in detail, and she says that right now she takes many pills to help her just sleep and get through her depression. She says that she's still split between thinking that she's a killer or a victim. Recently, she says that she was diagnosed with cancer and is fighting. She ended by saying she wishes that other survivors could live a normal life. So I didn't know about this case, but when I read the details, it was so mind-baffling that something like this could happen in Korea at all. The fact that this victim A survived this whole thing is also mind-baffling as well. And I want to know what you guys have thought about this case. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell because I reply to all my early birds. And thank you to Grammarly for sponsoring today's video. Have a magical day!